About a month ago, I ran over the sewer cleanout with my lawnmower and broke it. We showed you how to do a temporary fix, and today it's time to pay the piper, and we're going to fix this for permanent. So here's our sewer cleanout. For those of you who don't know, all the wastewater inside the house, toilets, sinks, showers, etc., all runs to this main spot, which then runs to the city to get rid of all our wastewater. This is only access for plumbing to snake in case it gets clogged up, so we just need to know where it's at. The key thing that we were doing is we taped it so that nothing could get in there and cause a clog. So now we just want to make a permanent fix. So once you're getting all of your tools gathered to start your project, what you're gonna need, a piece of PVC pipe. They sell these in 2-foot sections at Home Depot. This is a 3-inch size, which is a typical size, but you wanna measure before you go to the store. Need a pencil for making marks. The cleanout cap, which is the last part we'll put on. You'll need what's called a coupler so that we can connect the two pipes together. We have primer and cement so that we can glue it all together. We're going to need some sandpaper after we cut to smooth over our edges. We're going to need a saw to cut with, and then also a handy dandy shovel. We're working outside, obviously, in a well-ventilated area, but these are chemicals, and if you're particularly sensitive, and oftentimes I am, you can wear a respirator if it's bothering, and if you're concerned about getting the glues and primers on your hand, you can wear some gloves. Okay, our first step is we're going to have to dig down so that we have a little bit of access to our pipe. I just noticed, but someone else has already damaged this and replaced it once before. So I'm going to have to dig down enough so that I can actually cut off the previous coupler so that we can do our new one. This is a trial and error process. You're digging down so that you can get to the point where you can see if your saw is going to fit. I had a bigger saw that I would have to dig a whole heck of a lot more. So I went and got a smaller saw, and I'm basically trying to see if I've got enough space that I can cut it off, or if I need to do some more digging. There's the old coupler. That was not the easiest project, to kind of see why I was putting it off. So our next step is we need to kind of wash around the pipe so that we can have enough clean surface for our glue to adhere. Okay, so we got everything cleaned up. A couple things that I wished I would have done. First of all, I wish I would have just left my tape on top of my original temporary fix so that while I was digging, I wouldn't worry about dirt falling down in the pipe. So I had to be a little bit careful the whole time I was doing that. The next thing is that I ran into is we have sprinkler wiring that someone had previously disconnected and was wrapped around this pipe. So you never know what you're going to find when you're digging, and you want to be careful that if that wiring got cut while you were doing this project, you now have an additional project to work on. At this point, what we're going to do is take our pieces and just kind of do some dry fitting. We're going to set stuff down, kind of measure, take a look, see what we're thinking before we get to the glue process. So at this point in our dry fitting process, we're trying to figure out how everything's going to go together. We're going to make some pencil marks on our coupler. We want the coupler to have half of the pipe in the ground in it and half of the pipe that's sticking up in it so that it makes a nice tight solid joint. So as you can imagine, you don't want it too far. You want it just enough so that the coupler is making good contact with both pipes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to glue our coupler onto our pipe that's in the ground. Then once we get that all set and secure, then we'll come back and do our measurements on our top piece. But trying to do it all at once is kind of a little tricky. So before you're going to glue, we made sure that we cleaned everything off. If your pipe has any burrs or leftover PVC material, you may want to kind of sand it down. Make sure that you don't have any rough spots. So at this point, what we're gonna do is take our primer and we're gonna prime the inside of the coupler and the outside of the pipe in the ground. After those are primed, you're then going to take your cement and rub it in the same spots, inside and outside. You're then going to take and put your coupler on, kind of move it a little bit and let the bond solidify. Okay, we've got that all set up, let it bond. As you notice, you have to work pretty quick once you start working with the primer and the glue, because it doesn't have a lot of time. So you kind of coat it, get it on there, get it set to the right spot, hold it, make sure it stays in place, let it dry for approximately 15 minutes or so. Now what we're going to do is take our final standpipe top piece, and we're going to just do some dry fitting on it, see how high we want to make this. The purpose of a sewer cleanout is it needs to be above grade, meaning it's visible. We obviously could have cut down, put a cap on it, covered it up with dirt or something like that, but we're trying to keep this accessible. What I did is I basically eyeballed where I think the dirt's gonna fill back in and where the top of this cap's gonna be, wherever that is, and then made myself a mark, and we'll cut it off from there. Okay, so we need a table or something raised so that we can make a nice clean cut. When you're cutting with a hacksaw, a lot of times you just kind of make some scoring motions to get a groove for the blade to set in. And then after that, it's just the hard work of cutting through the pipe. We're going to take our sandpaper and knock off the rough edges. I'm actually going to use the factory side of the pipe to glue down, but this just makes my top cap fit on nice. Once we get everything cleaned up and dried up, we'll repeat our process of gluing and we'll almost be done. We're going to do a little bit of a dry fit, make sure we're happy with the height. If we're not, we could cut us another pipe. So our last step is we're going to put our cap on top. Most of the time these caps fit really snug, and so you really can hand tighten the screw. It doesn't have to be super tight. And then we're going to backfill and clean up. Okay, we're all done. Reminded very much of the saying, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. If I would have just been paying attention while I was mowing, we wouldn't have this whole project, which took approximately an hour's worth of work, $25 worth of parts. I now have an extra tube I'm not sure what I'll do with. But the project's all done. Now you've seen how it's done, and we hope that you don't have to do it in the future. If you liked our video, we hope you subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can also check us out at mightyfortressacademy.com. Thanks for watching.